Hello everyone and welcome to Bluespan's Dota 2 stream. Hello Lulu, hello David, hello Inuyasha, hello Aniket. Welcome guys. Arm the challenge by the Anon. Yeah, soon. Anon. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Hello, Faisal. Oh, now I know why my sound effects are so quiet. I lowered the volume. Let's try some sound effects. Hello, Judel. I mean, my side sound effects, but thank you. Hey, actually, this is a good time to use this sound effect. So, for those of you who do not know, we actually calibrated Divine 2 yesterday. I played 10 games, I won 4 out of 6, and somehow I dropped something like 250 MMR compared to what I was last season. But luckily, there was an anonymous donor who said that if I hit Divine or higher, that they would make a $800 something donation. And throughout my calibration, I started to see a lot of ancient players in my game, and I started to lose, and I lost. And it was getting pretty desperate. But anyways, I managed to pull 3 straight wins of a line at the very end. And yeah, the anonymous donor made a $1,200 donation, luckily. So things are looking pretty good. Anyways, I actually just wanted to use the sound effect for that situation. Oh yeah, should have played it yesterday actually. Hello Akram. Hi Rehan. Hello Snowpoop. Hello Rajesh, did I say that already? Damn, Snowpoop. Lost first 3 calibration games, won last 7. You won 7 out of 10 and you're sad about it? Right, glad you like my lion? Hi, Silvio. Hi, Prieg. You want to see the jug set? Sure, man.
To die at my hand
There you go.
is an honor.
Oh, that is a pretty badass unit, isn't it? I got a bunch of other sets. I got this one with the pink sword. I got shiny. If I can ever put it fucking on. Why does Arcana always do that? Can I get the golden Arcana, please? It's just buggy as fuck. We're playing unranked. I only have time for 2 or 3 games today. Sorry, Sharon. I live in Canada, man. Never been below legend, put my ass in Ancient 6.
Ban someone. 5 seconds left.
Never been below legend, put my ass in Ancient 6. Ancient 6 is higher than legend. Am I misunderstanding something? Hi, Pradetta. I'll queue for core MMR sometime this week. Insane bot.
This is where you win or lose.
Mike, maybe you should just turn off the stream and turn off your computer and just fucking do your study, man. No trap noise.
10 seconds.
Damn, Sylvia, you suck.
5 seconds left.
I'm just joking with you, buddy. Hello, Shane. Welcome, friends. Hello, Torniki. Actually, how do you say your name? It says, I say Torniki, but maybe it's Tornike. Good night, Nizam. Hello, Prevent. Fuck, I'm level 2. Why you also high MR? Fuck Valve. Could it be that this guy's a smurf and because of the new calibration algorithm, oh shit, they have a PA. He actually did really well in his first 2 games on this account, and now he's in here with me.
We lost someone. Remember, the goal
Wait, what?
is to have fun.
He just fucking straight up left the game, dude.
Yeah, who am I kidding?
This is why I like land.
Jesus.
I'm no techno wizard or nothing. I think that player is disconnected.
I gotta Key for a goddamn new game. Alright, let's read some more of these comments. Let me turn on the chat. Alright, where are we? Where are we? No one won? What does that even mean? The worst part is that I played support and I did more damage than my... I meant fucking Archon. Fuck me, it hurts to even type it. The fuck? Do I like the new update? Yeah, I do. For me, it's only for fun. I never give advices. That is a good attitude to play video games, Silvio. Don't be like me, man. Someone told me if you calibrate support first and then core, you get a good medal. Is that true? I don't think it, I'm pretty sure it's probably just based off of your old shit. I gained MMR but lost medal. Tornike, but not Torniki. Okay. Tornike? You don't play rank? Not this time. You know what? Actually, I don't think I'm going to be playing ranked first game of the day anymore. To be honest with you, I'm just too fucking sleepy. And I need to drink my goddamn coffee. Oh, we got a game. Ah, yeah, that feels good. Hello, Jupiter. Yeah, I remember you. Hello, Blue. Kodor with Yoi. Long time. Wait, what?
Whose band is it?
I'm trolling you? What are you talking about?
Yours.
Am I trolling you? Or are you trolling me?
5 seconds left.
You don't have coffee?
Your pick now.
Yeah, well, you know what, Torniki?
What?
I do. Torniki, I mean.
Okay, your pick.
Oh, yeah.
You know what to do.
Yeah, you too, Snail Poop. Go fucking pee, bitch. Eat it.
Your pick now. Leap up.
Ah, what am I playing? You safe lane carry. Orange. Hello, Dai Dai. Ni hao ma.
10 seconds. 5
Okay,
seconds
I will
left.
play Mirana. No, I'll play Earthshaker. Wait, no, they have Earthshaker. Oh fuck, I'll play Mirana. No, I'll play Invoker. I tried to pick Earthshaker, I was like, oh. Y'all know why that cup is Bluespan's favorite? Please, Snail Poop, tell us why this cup is my favorite. It's the one with coffee in it.
Remember, the goal is to have fun. Yeah, who am I kidding? Your pick. This is where you win or lose.
Dai Dai, I'm good, man. Where do you live, Dai Dai? I've seen you around quite a few times. I want Dota 2 pick style same as Dota 1 pick style, the pick a house thing. I do not share your opinion. I have never seen you play Earth Spirit. Oh yeah? I've never seen you play Disruptor. Hello, GN Online. Hello, Vu. Alright, Snow, I play sound effect for you, okay? Oh, wait. I did not implement the sound effect yet. Okay, you're lying, Snowpoop. You was immortal as I remember. Yes, I was. Malaysia died. Okay. I was there last year. We had this conversation yesterday. You broke your finger? Damn. Position 4, Invoker, yep. I'm grounded if I lose. Okay. Yes, Daddy. Thanks, Lulu.
Yes.
Meow, meow.
Of course.
Prepare for battle.
We have kill potential bottom.
Since I vowed to reclaim our homeland, I have never made a choice.
My medal's gonna increase on the Calvary Core. Oh yeah? Are you sure about that?
Is in the bag.
Is my voice loud enough, guys? Thank you, Ariola. Hello, Perihelion. Yeah, everyone's having bad luck for their calibrations, dude.
I am committed.
It's loud enough? Good. Okay, man, just make it obvious that you put down a sentry.
30 seconds to showtime.
Well away.
Does young Invoker have taunt? Do you know what finger is broken? The one where you press left, click on your mouse. Ooh. Yeah, I'll join you in a sec, bud.
Let the battle begin! Whew. Okay, play your cards right. This is getting
Yo, man, I totally forgot to invoke, yeah,
Nigh unto death.
Cold Snap.
So it
You
is
pussy? Mid red king.
keep it in mind.
Safe, clinks.
I'll help you in a second, okay,
Well
bud?
aware of it.
I'll help you in a second, okay,
This
bud?
bores me.
Position for shaker.
Way hence.
I don't think so.
Forthwith.
Hey, Phoenix, can you help me?
Yes.
Hey, Phoenix, come here.
Count your moments. Cross
Okay, never mind.
Fine.
God.
You dare fight me? Ah! Ill luck upon you.
Yeah, you whiny boy. We get it. We fucking get it.
Over yon. Such tedium. Concentration.
I mean, I don't know what you expected when you pick like offlane Sven, you know.
Avowedly. Orbs light my path. 'Tis tedious. Ah, quas pregoris. Thither I go.
How does he see me? What the fuck?
Nothing is
Did that thunderstrike on me?
Igor's tracks run red.
recalled from the yon side of death. As
Did I have
many
thunderstrike on me? See, this is why we play unranked first. It's for fucking monkey shenanigans, you know? Because I just woke up. Need more coffee.
to battle. To battle.
One person says yeah, another person says no. What the fuck?
I am committed.
Smoke weed every day.
I'm well aware. I proceed.
Oh, I can't cheat and pull, whatever.
Fine. Over yon. Yes. Who threatens my concentration? So it is said. Thus and so.
How many of you do I have to kill?
Way hence.
Yes, no, maybe. Great
The
help, guys.
learned ones
Great help.
first.
Love it. Thank you.
Concentration.
Big wave of juicy experience.
Such tedium. Short legs, you know. Oh,
Purple balls, but you know what I really hate having?
forthwith.
Blue balls.
Avowedly. This ends.
Bum 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 bum
I'll keep it in
bum.
mind. Of course. Can't you see I'm under attack? Learn how proud of you. Attack!
Ruins, get back.
Yes, bounty. Thither I go.
Fucking clinks.
As needs be. This bores me. With speed. Mindfully. Well away.
Can't really do much about this clinks. Maybe I'll just.
Tis
No, I
fate.
want this experience though. So let's see.
Coming mid.
Orbs light my path.
I'm mid.
Triumph
It's okay. Just farm.
as needs be. This bores me. Of course, claws of Cornelius. An
Oh,
endless
shit,
age
dude.
of learning.
I meant to invoke Ghost Walk, but wrong button.
I shall be mindful, make no mistake. So it is said,
Oh my
Go, 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 go.
I'm well aware. The charming hex.
Whoa.
Concentration. Sudden death. Triumph. Yeah.
That didn't get him.
From the great mystery.
What the fuck, guys? Like, what are you waiting for?
Shaker tipping mid. Shaker is
Hmm?
mid.
Take me out of your mind.
I don't know, man.
All knowledge is parallel.
Oh man, dude, I'm not doing shit this game. Feels bad.
Away hence.
Is Juggernaut just jungling?
Forthwith.
Can I run jungling?
I'll keep it in mind.
I think we lost, guys.
Well away.
Shaker.
Yes. Thither I go.
I'm coming.
Fine.
Going for the shaker.
Okay.
I am committed.
Level 4.
From deep within. Cold snap. Just as I expected. Such tedium. Avowedly.
Oh.
Have cold snap.
Magnus, Magnus.
Good job.
You better puff on over to your bottom tower. Radiant structures are fortified.
Speed.
Oh yeah.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Rally the troops and get over there.
Unto battle.
Oh man, I don't know.
Tower is under attack.
Legs, you know. Thus and so. My foes
Don't have detection.
enlightenment stands ready.
Yeah, no, we can't really kill BH.
I proceed.
This guy can die.
Away hence.
No, I can't.
From the great mystery. Forthwith. Mindfully. Well aware. Then plucked from the
They're trying to
arcade.
knock down your middle tower.
Burns.
Over yon.
Haste.
With speed.
Look, the enemy's attacking your middle tower.
Don't
let him do that.
Yes. Well away.
Oh no.
As needs be.
Killing spree.
He has Echo Slam, or Shaker has Echo Slam.
One of the lives. Thus and so. Of course. Concentration.
Come on, Jug.
Unto battle.
Bounty.
Light might have the earth augury abounds.
Your middle tower is under attack.
So it is said. Tornado. I am committed.
Many of you do I have to kill?
Shaker coming on the west.
Thither I go. Avowedly.
What the fuck?
Witness true sorcery. 'Tis tedious. Short legs, you know. Claws of tornado.
You don't have mana for shit, dude. Hey, care Phoenix.
I don't give a fuck. Oh no.
Ah, no mana, dude. I can't do shit.
Matters perishes with me.
Ooh, your bottom tower.
Deal with it.
Bad.
I can't.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Killing spree. It's double kill.
Why?
Well played. Well played.
Defend that sucker.
Oh, I took this game.
Mindfully.
Like, get your fucking blinks, boys. Like, what the fuck is this?
I proceed.
They're coming like this.
Behold. This
Kill this fucker.
Tower's under attack.
Condolia's malevolent perturbation.
This guy.
Of course.
Top tower is under attack.
So it is said.
Jeez.
Over yon.
Raid King, no ult.
Your mid tower could talk. It'd be pretty mad at you.
I'll keep it in mind.
Kill that fucker.
I have tornado. Oh boy. I'm dead.
Top tower just got denied. Double kill.
It's a good thing this game is unranked, guys, because
Oh, there better be something important.
yeah.
Maybe important like distractions. Pretty good move if you ask me.
It's fun. We have a farming Magnus, a farming Zen, and a farming Jug.
Stay over till the last building falls. So fight.
Can't TP, dude.
Way ahead. My rich tradition. Knowledge is power.
I'm gonna get grounded. Oh no, Daddy, no. No. No.
Such tedium.
TP out, right?
Oh! As needs be.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Concentration. Wet cyclonic. It got thus and so.
Woo! There we go. Good job, man.
Orbs like
Wow.
Yeah, teamwork. Thank you, Vassal.
thither I go.
Just kind of like position forward Volker.
Avowedly. Arcana known only to me. I am committed.
There's a warrior. There's a warrior.
With
Yeah. Hi, Benit.
unto battle. I'm well aware. Short legs, you know.
I really need detection, huh?
Concentration.
He's alone.
We use a fucking blink dagger, dude. I'm outta here.
Yes.
Bounty's there.
So it is set.
Do we have a team?
It was your own.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Oh, he wants to go for it, but he can't.
Probably stop that.
Oh, come on, come on. He's gonna get it.
You better poof on over to your
Good kill.
bottom tower.
Can we go down now? No, I don't worry it.
From the source of self-knowledge, the well of creation, long for the deep within. This bores me.
Here's no mana.
Hurry on.
Get up!
Hearken unto me.
Oh yeah, good job.
This is the collar.
It's a triple!
Wow.
Keep it in mind.
Look at you, you're the real carry now.
Me carry, me Uga.
They're trying to knock down your middle tower.
Committed. As needs be.
Makes a lot of sense.
Mindfully.
Hey man, hey Magnus, are you always so whiny, dude?
Yeah, I think he just doesn't play. That's the secret.
I proceed.
You sounded like a little bitch just now.
Fight me.
Careful mid. I wanna die.
Such tedium.
Alright, we need to take top. I need at least someone with me.
Cindergast.
This Mag is so dumb.
Lords, light my path.
Ma'am.
Of course.
Oh, top. Nice RP, nice RP. Yes.
Yes.
'Tis tedious. The spell I well remember. Well away.
Oh my god, they all here.
Hmm.
Ma'am.
Truly arcanery thrive.
Man, I'm scared, dude.
Fine. An honor to fight me.
3 up that hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Radiance. And well
Okay, boys, that's a defense. Oh my god.
Counter initiations? Friends? Friends? Hi, Mel.
Okay, time to run.
Come on.
Your mid tower could talk, it'd be pretty magic.
He's saving RP for next game.
That's fine, it's fine. We'll have next game.
Your mid tower could talk, it'd be pretty magic.
Just remember.
Yeah, can you use it before 30 minutes? Thanks.
Use it right now, right now.
Such tea.
Oh no. I got you, brother, I got you.
I will remember.
Oh, it's burning.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh shit!
Let's go it, let's go it.
Don't make me buy back for this, guys.
Buy back.
Okay, I did it.
Why did you buy back?
Yeah, buy back. I'm over here.
It's fucking bad.
Come on, you can kill him. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
We can do it. Yes, we can.
Oh, he's outside of his invisibility. Nice. Worth my dieback.
War.
Hi, Shiva.
Do it! Just do it!
Did he just buy a Midas? Damn, man. You really think we can last a while this game, huh?
Do you think we can do something another way? It's the only way.
Okay. Carry me, bro. That's right, doctor. It's my coping mechanism, you know?
I proceed. Coming head, Ghost Rock.
I'm coming.
Bro, come on.
Elements.
Ah, Jesus.
Of course.
Mag was mid. Hi, Reja.
Fine.
Should probably deward that area.
Avowedly.
Oh, shit.
Come on.
What the fuck?
The final calculation.
Nice. Take him away, boys.
There's a ward.
You want Maelstrom? That's interesting. Do I like kebabs and shawarma?
I would
Yes.
place nary a mark
Why not?
Upon me. Thus and so.
Ah, boy.
It's okay, boy. It's
Hey, did ya? Can you read the title?
Orbs light my path. Words enlightenment stands ready. Yes. Ha ha. Over yon.
Man.
Tornado.
Plane's behind.
Tis tedious. Well away.
Oh, he's double dash!
Get out, get out. Hold your ground.
Burn his mana.
Time to run. Deny the skeleton. Oh no! Go, 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 go!
Behold!
Oh no!
Echo Slam.
Faster! Where's the blade?
Oh! Fuck, I pressed the wrong button, dude.
No.
Oh man.
The dude, come on! Where's the core?
Which is sad.
Step the fuck up!
Unto battle. This magic disappoints.
What the fuck is that? No ult, no nothing. Kill him!
This board
Lynx is coming from the northeast, northwest, I mean. Shaker is there also.
course. I proceed. My mind words
Your
of
middle
power.
tower is under attack.
Come on, guys. Don't be like that.
Middle tower now, by the way.
One of you from the great mystery. Yes.
Calibrated support, Fizzy.
Way hence.
You pick Sven offline into Magnus and Juggernaut.
Forthwith.
What the fuck is wrong with you, son?
Why does Dota 2 players always have to play a blame game?
I get him on the Raid King.
Concentration.
Shaker can die.
Over yon.
J-
Unto battle.
Oh, speaking of
I
levels,
am committed.
I mean, something. Hello. Go on the support.
Echo
behind.
Slam.
Support, support, support.
Well aware.
You even watching it?
Echo Slam, Echo Slam.
Good job, team. Good job. Take the top 10. You
Hey,
pussy.
Rima, the stream title says Divine 2, man. I'm Divine 2.
Well away.
I'm scared to leave the space.
Yes.
Go, 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 go.
Concentration. Shadow. With speed. Mindfully. Short legs, you know, headlong.
I didn't even cast a single spell, dude.
Double kill.
Oh, shut up, please. Where's your dust?
I think I'm gonna mute this Magnus. All he ever says is whiny shit.
Kill the supports.
Tower is under attack.
I return to the dark side.
Top tower needs some help.
Knowing me, knowing you. Orbs light my path.
The top tower is under attack. Hello, top tower. Goodbye, top tower.
You're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Oh shit. He doesn't have his ultimate?
Top tower is under attack.
I don't know. We'll see.
Arcana no longer I proceed.
Top tower needs some help.
From deep within.
Top tower has fallen.
This
Who
bores
said
me.
that tower could fall? Barracks are under attack.
Kill the bounty.
So it is said. True arcana cry.
Top barracks are under attack.
Alright.
Holy shit.
Here's a core.
This guy serious?
Top barracks ain't nothing.
Hey, where'd he go? What
What
the?
is that?
It did nothing to this.
What the fuck is that?
Oh, he can blink out like that?
Killing spree.
Spiritual sorcery. Endolium's malevolent perturbation. Witness true sorcery. Can't you see I'm under attack?
Top barracks are under attack.
Speed.
Kill him!
My soul lost.
Oh god, I'm dead.
Spree.
Not enough.
Wah wah.
Deserved it.
Seems balanced.
This Wraith thing, right? He doesn't give a shit, dude.
Barracks is falling.
This guy just keeps coming back alive.
You're digging your own grave.
He's so powerful. He went mid, dude. This Wraith King, I'm sure he's probably at least 6k.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We got, how many Midas do we have?
A lie without beginning.
Kill him!
A lie without end.
You know, Wraith King X is really good.
Way.
I mean, this game is not the game to prove the point.
Your mid tower could talk. It'd be 15 at you.
Cold snap.
Your middle barracks are under attack.
Your middle barracks is falling.
Over yawn.
Your middle barracks has fallen.
The chick on the right? Kill that fucker.
Tower has fallen.
That fucker.
Your bottom tower. Right ahead.
He just walks out like that, dude.
Your bottom tower has fallen.
Committed.
Don't even know when to stop.
Your bottom barracks are under attack.
Nice try, guys.
Bottom barracks,
You know what's
is
called.
Your bottom barracks is fallen.
The enemy now has
Gold for little coin.
They're trying to knock down your middle tower.
Speed.
Wraith King has unobstructed form movement.
dominated.
Thus and so. The ghost of Kara. Forthwith.
Can
Your middle tower's under
unobstructed movement?
What, not your job or something?
Hi, Fuse. Wait, Wraith King eggs? He can walk through like over cliffs and shit.
Range is under attack.
Mega kill.
Yeah, if anyone deserves command, it's Phoenix. Oh, I in fact installed SwiftKey on Lulu's phone. In fact. Oh, God, it's too early in the morning for an ass raping. Oh, God. Actually, I want to try Wraith. Does Wraith King really have unobstructed movement? Oh yeah, wait a minute. I need to command this guy.
King am I of all the race.
Okay. Thanks.
Prostrate yourself.
Prepare for battle!
Hi, Devraj. How come I'm not turning into the spirit? How come he turned into the spirit and then he just came back like that?
Tis your honor.
Or do you have to time it? You have to time it properly. Actually, I don't understand how you did that. Hey, did ya? Would you like to donate for Earth Spirit?
King's rule.
How did that guy do that?
You are in my presence.
Yeah, let's just try this. Yeah, how did he control his Wraith King? It's a talent? It's a talent? What talent?
Behold the wraith.
Maybe the respawn thing in demo? Okay, I think maybe I know. Okay, so what if you... How long does Scepter Ally... 7 seconds? So what if I kill myself around now, and then... Look at the timer, look at the timer. And then I actually die, but then my ultimate, my reincarnation comes back on. And then I just... Oh, that's how he does it. So he kills himself at around... something like 7 seconds to yeah, if you kill yourself like 7 seconds to your reincarnation CD, you can actually do that. I did not know that. That's amazing. Did anybody know that? I play shit tons of Wraith King and I didn't know that. Look, I'm gonna kill myself again. This is how you did it. Oh shit. Too early. Alright, I'm gonna kill myself again. This is how you did it. Look. That's amazing. Yeah, and then he just comes back alive. Oh my god. Next game Wraith? I don't know about that. I mean, this is a cool trick, but I mean, it's not like, oh my god, he's so overpowered, I have to play him right now. No. It's not, I don't think it's a bug. Is that the Yeti Pro? No, it's not. We're gonna do it again. Okay, watch it. Okay. Is it gonna make it? Is it gonna make it in time? Did I time it almost exactly, guys? See, I did it again. Oh, that's amazing. I fucking didn't know that. And that Wraith King, the last game, he was timing it like clockwork. You ordered the Yeti Blackout? It's the same one as this, except it's black. Yeah. So with Ag Scepter, you know what? That means rather than having a 40-second cooldown on his ultimate, he can actually kill himself every 33 seconds. That's actually pretty fucking amazing. I did not know that. You know what you can do? Yeah, you can pump up your what's it called? Your sponsorship thingy. Oh, unobstructed movement. Right. That's what I actually wanted to check out.
King am I of all the wraiths.
Yeah, let's try it again.
Scepter.
So Alex, are you trying to be a streamer? Should I break his heart, guys? Yeah, you just have straight up unobstructed movement. Wow. That's amazing. And if you have blink there, you can just fucking walk out. I don't have an opinion on what you just said, but I think it's pretty good. Hey, you just fucking... Oh, you can't blink? I can't blink during this time? Why? Didn't he blink earlier? Oh, the fountain stops you from blinking. I also did not know that. Did anybody know that? Yeah, like, tower doesn't stop, but fountain does. Fucking learn shit every day.
The middle tower's under attack. Rally the troops and get over there.
So yeah, that Wraith King, he would just fucking blink out, man. Like, he actually understands Wraith King so well. I have like at least 100 games of Wraith King, and I still didn't know these things about Wraith King. Oh, I get the Phoenix in my game again. I like him. Hey, Phoenix. I see
Seconds
you.
left.
It's okay, dude. Yeah, it's
your
okay,
pick
man.
now. You know what
Oh,
to
dude,
do.
he's a Phoenix fan, right? Ain't he? See? All right. Okay. It's upset. Excuse me. An upset, sir. An. Thanks, Hafiz. It's okay, I did, yeah. Well, anyways, we'll play another hero for you soon, okay, man?
Remember, the goal is to have fun. Yeah, who am I kidding? Ten seconds. 5 seconds left.
All right, man. I'm not gonna pick Drow into this, these hooligans.
Or lose.
Actually, Bloodseeker's good against Ursa, but I don't like to play Bloodseeker. Bum 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 bum. See, does he really want to play Tinker? Is it World of Warcraft music? Yes. Good job. Immortal Ursa, 4,500 wins, Tiny.
What? Huh?
Smurf, purple.
This is where you win
Tinker.
or lose.
You know who's a really good pick? Faces Void, unless this guy steals my chrono. Do I feel like Lycan? Never. Devraj, you here? You love this shit. I know you do. Holy title. Here, I have a macro that says the answer to your question is in the title of the live stream. Here, we're gonna press it again. See, I didn't even have to type it. Any good halal places in Canada? I have no idea, man. I don't eat this stuff. I'm not religious. Unless you consider Buddhism a religion, but it's kind of is, but kind of not, you know. Does that answer your question to death? Thanks, man. Got that juicy team fight. Yeah, dog. 11-10 Bloodseeker. That doesn't look so good. It's 4,400 games. Glad you like the music, Raima. Thank you, Lulu.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Fortune and glory away.
Hey, buddy.
Oh my god.
Foreseen is forearmed.
My friend, this one is.
Oof, we don't have that Magnus or that,
in the bag.
those guys on our team.
A path foreseen.
Aww.
You mean yay?
Inexorable.
Have fun with your food, Snail Poop.
Primal shard.
Oh, look at this Tiny. I'm gonna start beating him with my stick.
Tiny position.
Mace thing.
4. First. Supposition 1. So it's a mid seeker.
You think it's Tiny 4? I think it's Tiny 3.
Not sure.
So you think the Ogre is a
maybe.
core or a Rubik is a core?
Yeah, maybe 3, fine. Care for the throw in the tower.
Okay, where?
Attack. It must be.
Can you get one fucking bash? Bake him away, toys! Nah, I don't want to get thrown, man. He wants to throw us.
Pussy.
Mama didn't raise no pussy.
Your time runs
Oh.
First bash! One more! One more!
out. Time flows.
Wow.
My path
For all the marbles. This marbles right all valuable.
Oh yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Oh yeah.
Alright. This is gonna be a meme lane. Let's go.
Yeah, dog.
Ogre position 5.
Face forward. Yes. Feel my mace. The march of time. Not. Road to oblivion. No.
That guy's just using it to farm. Tossing
Face
me.
the future. Time's up.
Where'd that creep that I was gonna kill go?
Your attempt was time to fight.
Nice clarity, Tiny.
Face your doom. Time is the cruelest cut. Dark portents ahead. Your end comes. Time turns.
There you go.
It shall be.
Oh, he's got a big stick now.
Uh-oh.
My path unspooled.
It's okay.
As foretold. Attack. I go. Inexorable.
Back off.
Did you tell me to back off?
A path
Yes.
seen.
Okay. I think that guy, that Rubik should be pulling. Oh, okay.
Shall be.
No.
A path foreseen. Ended.
God damn it.
Time.
What the?
Now it's pulling. No, it's me.
Inexorable.
Double kill.
I mean like that.
The march of time.
Hit that fucker.
Okay. After I lasted these creeps.
Pussy.
Takes you. Time is the cruelest cut. Your end comes. I'm under attack.
Oh, last hits.
Oh my god, core players.
I play support, sir.
Road to oblivion.
Head up!
Attack.
Oh, I'm hitting. You see me hit? You see? Let me hit this guy.
Face forward.
I'd be...
Hey, one fucking bash!
Wow.
See, you just asked for it, you know?
It must be.
Faking
Where's
it,
this guy?
faking it.
He's gonna kill you. Oh, don't worry about it. I cleaned up after you.
Come on.
Road to oblivion. Inexorable.
I need to scream in order to bash. Alright. Ah! It did bash.
Runes in 30 seconds.
Time is money.
It takes me about 30 seconds to do it too.
Don't die, smile face.
Yes.
Okay.
Come. Bruh.
Nice combo, Tiny.
Bruh.
My mace.
Yo, man, I have so much farm here.
Bruh.
You're gonna have to risk it.
Face your doom.
Ta-da-ta-ta.
Pussy.
I did it, you fucker.
Yeah, but what about second rune?
Face the future.
What about the third room?
Dark portents ahead. Time's up.
I don't have it.
Oh shit.
I foresaw this.
Oh my god, perfect combo.
A perfect.
Face forward. Your time runs out.
What the fuck? How did I not get that last hit?
Gold is forever. My path on spools.
I'm out.
Okay. I got Ring of Health, I'm good.
It must be. Time flows. Attack.
Illusion.
Oh. The shrine.
Foreseen is flawed.
You good.
Primal shard. It shall be. I go.
You know, I thought Phoenix was gonna come do something, but actually he's not gonna do anything at all.
A path foreseen. Time flows.
I guess we can try.
Face your doom.
Oh, never mind. Or? Oh.
I need TP scroll.
It shall be. Dark portents ahead.
He's going for shrine.
Yes.
Never mind.
I'm here. My path on spools.
What's in your opinion the best Dota support player? I don't know, man.
Anybody behind us?
Whoever's playing support on OG. Alright.
Tiny bottom. Has face.
Double damage.
Triple face.
Time to fight. Out of time. The march of time.
Winning.
Feel my mace.
Careful bottom if they gank hits you.
Your time runs out. I'm here.
Tiny's bottom.
Coming mid.
Killing spree.
Actually, maybe I should use my chrono.
They're running top.
Face forward. Road to oblivion. Face the future.
Okay. You're not gonna kill me, dude.
Road
Okay,
to oblivion.
I'm good.
Dark portents ahead.
Careful. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, what?
Okay.
I have Chrono, man. You wanna come here, cast some fire spirits?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go.
The cruelest cut.
I don't know about Tiny. Yo, kill this Rubik. He's gonna have Chrono.
In comes.
Okay.
Time to fight.
Bloodseeker's coming. I don't want to die. Yo, man, you gotta save me.
Okay. You're safe.
Alright. Yeah, safe in the fountain.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
You're safe.
Dig in and defend that sucker.
This Tiny's dead?
Oh.
Need some help?
Great escape from blue. Thanks, Chris. Thanks a lot, man.
Coming top. Level 6.
The march of time.
Yeah, cool.
Tower is under attack.
Ah, fuck.
Structures are fortified.
I might be able to bash this Bloodseeker.
Bash him!
Bottom tower is
Alright, let me find him first.
what, not your job
Holy
or
shit.
something?
Bash!
Top tower is under attack.
My path unspoons.
You better poof on over here.
Bashed him.
Bash!
Time flows.
Alright.
That's good, that's good.
It shall be.
Guy is putting up a barricade.
Not yet. Inexorable.
Your bottom tower has fallen.
Pop it.
Road to oblivion.
What the fuck? There's a Bloodseeker here.
Seeker, stop.
The march of
He's
time.
coming for you.
Oh yeah, I'm coming for him.
I don't think so.
Yes, I am, in the late game.
Oh my god.
Okay, he clearly has... Maybe clearly has vision
It
right here.
shall be.
Uh-huh. Careful. Bruh.
Yo, I have Chrono,
Dark portents ahead.
He has Chrono!
Rubik has Chrono.
Bruh.
My path unspoons.
My name shall live on.
Face forward.
Oops.
A path foreseen. Face the future.
Yeah, I pressed time dilation 1 second too late, not gonna lie.
It must be.
Kill him.
Time is the cruelest cut.
Seeker coming top.
Really? What's wrong with these guys?
Road to oblivion. It shall be.
Hey Phoenix, can you catch this guy?
No.
Roshan has fallen.
Oh my god, they did Roshan.
Dark
Oh, shit.
portents ahead.
Minus.
You even watching your top tower?
The march of time.
Oh, there's an Ursa here. I think you might be dead, Tinker.
You might be dead.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh shit.
A path
Tower
foreseen.
is under attack.
Alright, I'm getting out of our jungle.
Play this shit as long as possible.
Alright, good luck. I'm gonna go farm somewhere safe.
Bruh.
Time flows. Your time runs out. Yes.
Hi, Hanif.
Face your doom.
15-minute runes are almost up.
Oh my god.
Attack.
Okay.
Inexorable. Time is money.
I don't want to dive that.
My path unspools.
Oh no!
Dark portents ahead.
Oh no, sounds about right.
Road to oblivion.
It's okay, guys. Our power spikes can be in the later game.
Foresee.
We have to protect top. Play top, please.
How about protect mid?
They're trying to knock
Yeah,
down
Tinker,
your
you
middle
ready?
tower. Oh, there better be something important going on.
It shall be.
Your
Tinker
middle
mid?
tower
Tinker
is
mid?
under attack.
I go.
Come on, man. Well, he goes bottom, dude. What the?
Primal shard. Face forward.
What's that?
Okay, it's getting too hairy mid.
No, no, stay mid.
The march of time.
Okay. I think they're still here. They're like, look, they're like.
The seeker, the seeker.
I bought back. I bought back.
He bought back!
Questionable buyback.
Questionable?
Yo, I might be able to get this ogre.
My path unspools.
Really?
Maybe. Never mind.
Double kill.
Dude, that Ursa's fucking farmed to shit.
Triple kill.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
Look, the enemy's attacking.
Then he randomed it too.
Dire structures are
I'm looking at you.
If your mid tower could talk, it'd be pretty mad at you.
I need to just farm for a while. That's that little pause. Oh shit. What do I even do in situations like this?
Good, good, good.
Your bottom tower is under
Hey yo, Dabiz, I thought so too, man.
killing.
But somehow I just didn't. I don't know. I don't think I should be TPing there. I just kind of want to just farm. I mean, I could kill that Rubik, but I mean, I probably die.
That's what I'm talking about.
Time's up.
We're getting 12 strength, so we can survive Tiny and Ursa's comp.
Foresee.
If your mid tower could talk, it'd be pretty mad at you. Dire structures are fortified.
I go. A path
They might be coming down here to kill me.
Time flows.
You are invading top.
Down your middle tower.
Are you sure? Because if you think so, I'm gonna farm bottom.
Shall be.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Feel my mace.
Rally the troops and get over there.
My foresight sharpens.
Your middle tower's under attack. Your middle tower has
Going bottom. The only
They should be.
15 seconds.
Oh, dude, what are you doing?
They are here.
Attack.
Here. On you.
I think we back. I think they're coming down here. Let's get out.
Get the fuck out.
It shall be. I go.
Silvio calibrated Ancient 7? Oh, never mind. Oh, Legend 6. Okay.
Your bottom tower's kinda bad.
Yeah, I'm Divine too, so I mean, sounds about right. Hey, Chris, we're still calibrating core.
There's 2 ward here.
Hey, these bounty runes are almost up. I'll try to grab top.
Okay.
You better poof on over to your bottom tower. You and a couple of friends can probably
Bro, my.
it's falling.
Time is money. Yes. No anvil. My path unspoons.
Careful, think Ursa's here.
We can kill him.
You can kill who?
Chrono is. Chrono in.
Okay.
Coming.
Oh my god.
Come on, the combo, bros.
I don't know. They're probably coming. I don't know. Nah, it's.
They're not, but. Do it. We're pushing back.
Inexorable. Dark portents ahead.
It's fine.
Tower is under attack.
They do like this.
My path unspoons.
I'm canceling the smoke.
Time's up.
Oh shit.
Run him.
Come on, one more hit.
Here comes
Oh,
Dire's
fuck.
plucky little
Look
cutter.
at my TP scroll.
It's dead now.
Get out, Tub. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Oh,
get
I'm
out,
getting
get
out. Oh, I'm getting the fuck out of
Fire on
here.
you.
Face forward. A path foreseen. I'm here.
It's all good, boys.
Bunch of
Get
fucking
over
sharks.
the aggro really easily.
Be.
Oh, I got the courier killed. I need TP scroll.
You'll be fine. As long as that top tower don't fall. I'll wait till it.
The march of time.
Maybe fortify your strength.
The fuck? Why did they fortify?
If you ask me.
Oh, it's for bottom. Okay, that makes sense.
My
The
path
ward is there.
no anvil.
Fucking last hits.
Primal shard.
They're collapsing bottom.
Your time runs out.
What are you doing, bro? Like, no.
Inexorable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we lost this game, guys. I'm so underfarmed.
Attack.
They are blind bottom.
Maybe late game will be a lot better. We'll see.
It shall be.
Finally got my battle fairy. 23 fucking minutes.
No shot.
Hey Yukio, I'm 5.2.
Despair burns immortal in me.
Road to oblivion. I go.
They have a ward here. Or here.
Okay.
Face forward. It must be. The march
is-
of time. Go be it forever. Feel my mace.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Protect the tower with your life.
Yes.
Maybe I can get some TPs
If the
top.
tower fall, we all fall.
Dire structures.
Protect the tower.
Protect the ancient. Oh, I'm coming.
They cannot dive. They cannot dive. Go, 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 go.
Oh,
Double kill.
Oh well, we lost.
alright, I bought back. I bought back.
There's a ward there, careful.
I go.
We're still good, we're still good. Only thing Kirk can defend. Leave the legs
ahead.
go top somewhere.
Oh shit, our Tinker.
Leave us. Go top or bottom, we don't want you. Go.
Are you talking to me?
Road to oblivion.
Yeah.
You want me to push that tier 2 top?
Yeah.
It shall
Yeah, tier 2 top. Holy shit,
Don't
Tinker.
play with us right now. Back him!
Trying. He's not stunning.
be inexorable.
Run, go top. Go top.
No, we're gonna lose this tower if I go top.
You're not of any use, leave.
My path unspoken.
You're losing gold.
It's fine, man. See, this tower is alive because I stayed here.
Foreseen is forearmed.
No.
Yes,
No.
maybe.
Forward.
I kill that fucker.
The march of time.
We need more people. Oh, Centaur doesn't have blink
Is
yet.
forearmed.
Centaur is in pain. They have a sneaky ward, where the fuck is it? Maybe there.
Okay, thanks, man.
A path foreseen. Inexorable. Fate takes you.
Let the Centaur just blink.
Okay, you know what? Get your blink, bud.
Oh my god, it's so romantic.
Oh shit. Oh, he's dead.
Bro, come on.
The march of time.
We have some good vision top. They're coming mid again.
I'm not ready. I'm dead.
Bro.
I'm good.
Nope. Phoenix is dead. Rubik.
Phoenix is dead.
Fuck you. The ogre. Ah.
I'm like a half HP. Oh shit, he's getting a tower.
And over here we have your middle tower. Not being there no more. You better poof on over to your bottom tower.
Road to oblivion.
I don't even know what item to get.
The bottom shrine is under attack.
Bottom warded. Top cliff.
Where's my quelling blade? Oh wait, right.
Inexorable.
On top. Nah. We chill.
Smoke weed every day.
The bottom shrine has fallen.
Path foreseen.
But it's
Time flows.
Get
he's
up,
like by
get
himself,
up.
isn't he? Let's do something about this guy.
No.
Never mind. Rupture down.
Okay. Tower defense, boys.
Would you say we're playing Defense of the Ancients?
Fuck off.
The march of time. I'm here. Foreseen is forearmed.
Warded there. Come with me.
Yes.
No, the other way, bro.
I don't know why I'm playing Split Pusher.
The march of time.
I need someone with me. Go.
Feel my mace.
Yo, I'm coming with Chrono. Have Chrono.
Seeker is low. Oh no. GG.
Can I fucking use my time walk already?
Yeah, everywhere.
I think this is the end of our run, guys.
Yep.
Nice try.
What did there?
Who do we blame in this game?
Your middle barracks.
I feel very angry.
You'll be
We blame it. Yeah, good call.
Okay. Sounds good. Right there, sad little pause.
Hope you don't pay for lessons. The bottom tower's under
Yeah, you done, friend? Done.
What do you mean your bottom tower's gone? Middle barracks are looking dead.
Alright, that was fun, at least.
Blame Quelling Blade. Where the fuck is my Quelling Blade?
If your mid tower could talk, it'd be pretty mad at you.
Man,
Wow, there are like symbols on the ground.
but right now, it kind of sucks. We have one more stand, and we're gonna fail. But you know what? Let's go.
Oh man, that is so motivational. I am totally down for this. One more feed, let's play some Dota. Oh, Tinker got somebody.
That's bad.
Oh, he's dead.
Got him himself.
I'm TPing in. I've got time dilation.
Tip again.
I got time dilation.
You got time dilation.
I got time dilation.
Time is the cruelest cut.
Whoa. Whoa, he's gonna abyssal me, man. Ha! I see you. I see you.
Dark portent.
I see you. I see you. Don't worry, I'm gonna bash him for you. See, I bashed him for you.
Ta 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 ta. Vivek is under me.
All right, let's kill the easy guy. And I'll bash him for you too. I'm gonna chrono this guy. Look, 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 get him. Cold feet. Using time dilation. Whoa. Come on, Centaur.
Time dilation. Time dilation.
I used it already. I have nothing left. Somebody do damage!
Face forward.
Come on. This is a late game build, you know? I got time dilation. Got him.
Fuck this.
He can't use overpower for in the next 20 seconds.
Oh, okay. That's good. Bros.
See, he could have had 2 overpowers there, but because I used time dilation, he only had 1.
Bang.
Barracks are under attack. They're trying to break through. Stop.
Yeah, kill that ogre. We got him. You guys can do it. Kill that ogre.
Oh, baby. We got it. We got it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
Get him. Get that Bloodseeker.
Let's go.
He's got a heart. Don't let him reach in.
You fucking dead, mate. Come on, come on, come on.
Your middle tower has
Good, good, good. We got the game. We got the game.
The no-eyed man is king.
Alright, I'm ready.
By the way, boys, always goes Mjolnir. Not Battle Fury.
What if I'm fighting anti-mage?
You don't.
Okay. What if I'm fighting Viper?
You don't.
Worst clockwork? There's no clockwork in this game.
My path unspooled.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
And you stun those creeps, clockwork.
Immortality.
Hey Amar, it's a fucking joke, bro. It's the joke.
Here they come. speech. I made another speech. But this time is the real speech.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting my popcorn. Wait a sec, okay. Alright, now you go ahead.
This time, we might actually win a motherfucker.
Oh shit, I pressed the wrong button. Oh shit. Wait, I got time dilation. I still have time dilation.
Your middle tower has fallen.
Here comes the raven.
Don't worry guys, nothing of value is lost.
Yeah.
That was an unranked game, Duraj. Don't worry about it. How did Ursa taunt at the end right there? Okay, I got time for one more quick game, guys, and I'm out of here. Tomorrow will be a longer stream. Oh, they were a 3-stack. That's why we lost. We only had a 2-stack. Oh my god. Thanks, Foo. Thanks, Raj. GG, guys. Yeah, the Phoenix in the last game was the Phoenix in the last game. That's why he wouldn't shut up. CW is Clockwork was quite trash. I agree. Yeah, I don't know, man. 368 GPM. Oh yeah, we haven't implemented Benny 2 or 3 yet. Sometimes it be what it do, but it is. Glad you had fun, Hafiz. Can you see my MMR? Sure. Hafiz number 2. I mean Hanif. Same thing. How dare I disrespect your favorite hero? Centaur Warrunner? Clockwork? No. We're not respecting your favorite hero. We're disrespecting the player. There's my MMR. We still have 7 core games to calibrate. There you go. See, Mel? Misunderstanding cleared. You're welcome, Hanif. So Hanif and Hafiz, very similar names, right? So if you just swap the N with the Z, and you switch their positions, it's actually the same name. You feel me? It's actually the same name.
Smoke weed every day.
Same shit. But seriously though, this Phoenix, he didn't like my Battle Fury build. Don't actually press F. But seriously, I saw Ramses buy Battle Fury. And also Illidan. Yeah, you retract the message, Vinny. Illidan also bought Battle Fury on Void. It's good, honestly, it's good. Also, I needed the regen early game because this Tiny just kept throwing me. And then Tiny and the Avalanche toss with telekinesis and Fade Bolt. Hey Blue, you know play Invoker? I lost a game with Invoker right here. Does that count? I really hope they make Dota Plus better, because sometimes I don't know why I even subscribe. What does Dota Plus even give you? They took away the stacking timers, or was that just part of the battle pass? Sometimes it shames me, letting me know that I'm underfarmed. I don't really care about its pick suggestions or its item suggestions. I don't even know why I pay for Dota Plus, but I've had it for basically since it came out, and I've been paying money every single month for it. Your battlefield was kind of slow, to be honest. I think Maelstrom would have been faster, but it was tough, fun game though. Phoenix is dope. Well, Mel, I mean, you could replace Battle Fury with Maelstrom here. Your Maelstrom was kind of slow, to be honest. I think Battle Fury would have been faster. Honestly, it wasn't the item build. That's not why we lost. It's not as if I had Maelstrom suddenly, you know, this would have been game winning. No. We you know, like, yeah, we would have lost either way, I'm sure. Why don't you play rank, bro? Because it's too early in the morning. They give a chance to flex on the normal weebs. Wait, what are we talking about, Raj? I like Sumiya streaming Play Invoker, a good Sumiya. Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be one of the best Invoker players in the world, right? For sure. How many thousands of games does he have? Oh, right. Dota Plus gives you a chance to flex on normal weebs. Look at how superior I am as a Dota player because I have Dota Plus. Some people like the levels and the gold/silver tiers. Gold/silver tiers of what? Heroes? That's a thing, right? I have a gold tier jug, right? Hi, Johnny. Well, why do I care that I have a gold tier jug? It is gold, right? I don't even know why I care. 016 Centa, I'm pretty sure it was not the items. Yeah, Agent, I was looking at the scoreboard and I'm like, I don't want to be toxic and make him feel bad, so I didn't. But I'm pretty sure that was probably the biggest reason why we lost. Hey Yukio, I was 5.5k and then I won 4 out of 6 calibration for support and then somehow I dropped to 5.25k. Oh my god, he's in my game again. I'm gonna ban Phoenix. Should I ban Phoenix?
We'll hold him down, you knock him out. 5 seconds
Should I do it?
left.
Should I fucking ban Phoenix? It wasn't banned.
Your pick now. Meepo. What? Huh?
I've come to talk with you again because a vision softly creeping.
Whatever. Primarina.
Okay, your pick now. You know what to do.
Wait, what's going on?
Whoa. Stop being so friendly. Yeah, anyways, a lot of people are like, oh, it's plus or minus 50 MMR per calibration win/loss. Oh, it's plus or minus 75. But here I am. Won 4 out of 10 games. Minus 250 MMR. So you tell me, how does that work? What do you think this is? He was in the last game, wasn't he? He was the Ursa. Oh, fuck. This guy's just randoming, eh? This guy doesn't give a fuck. Akira was the Wraith King from the game before? Yes! Yes! Free MMR! Oh, shit.
The goal is to have fun. The goal is to have fun. Yeah, who am I kidding?
And yeah, we're having a short stream, Gally. This is gonna be the last game. Sorry, guys. Tomorrow will be a longer stream. Holy shit, my donation bar is so big. $2,065 US this month. That Phoenix guy was funny and cool. I agree, Hanif. I mean Hafiz. Which animal/bird is that? Mirana's mount. This is... Yes. Okay, it's a Griffin. Griffin. P tier Griffin.
Your pick now. Meepo.
Have you seen Harry Potter?
Huh?
It's the animal from Prisoners of Azkaban. I mean, that's a good way to put it. Oh, we have Meepo. Where's Ricky gonna go? I think he's a safe lane carry, right? Ass Capan. Damn, man, that's good.
Our presence was requested.
Oh yeah, speaking of First Blood.
On the prowl.
Okay, there you go.
Prepare for battle.
Good idea.
No, oh fuck! I can't sell the Tango once I buy it. Fuck! I wanted to actually clarity.
Leap forward.
Seems like an owl and the lion got a bit too excited and close. What are you suggesting, Amar? What do you mean?
As you will it.
Did I calibrate Divine too? Yes, I did. Ran 100% of my arrows. Okay, man.
It's in the bag.
I tried.
Forward by bounds.
I think Ricky safe lane, right?
Agreed.
30 seconds to showtime.
On track. Forward, pet.
Oh my god!
To the battle. I'm under attack.
Doesn't Bane right click like a motherfucker? Yeah, he does. I'm losing on every trade.
Our time is
First blood.
That's my Wraith King.
On delivery.
So I've missed 100% of my arrows so far.
good idea. Yes.
How many runes did we get? 1? Okay. Okay. Gotta get this,
We
this.
ride. To the battle.
Got him.
Cower before us.
Still 100%. That's right. I hit oxygen with 100% of my arrows. So, I mean, does that count?
Leap forward. On track and easy.
There you go.
shot.
Hit a creep.
Good idea.
Only if you assume they breathe oxygen in that game.
Strength shall be out as you will.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh, they pulled. Oh, they're not pulling this one.
For the hunt. We ride.
Maybe I should just go roam mid or something.
Scatter while you can.
Die, Ricky! Oh shit, Meeple's dead. Oh! Fuck. Do you think I can either snipe the courier as it comes?
Since you command.
Or I can kill Arkwood, or both. He should come. He bring us all, dude. Boom! Got him. God, I'm a sniper. Oh yeah.
Knees clear real quick.
Of course.
Sniper. 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 That was really loud.
Of course.
Ooh, sparkly. Oh yeah. Don't have to get too much mana regeneration. He's dead again? Should we go do the exact same thing? I think Bane sees me just now, right?
Forward, pet.
Okay. How we gonna do this? This arrow doesn't do enough damage though. That's a difficult arrow, you know, I might miss.
Three, two, one, let's go!
As you will it.
Your middle tower is under attack! Rally the troops and get over there!
Good idea.
Wait,
Fucking.
Diamond. Diamond. Good idea.
Get him! You got him!
That was fun!
Worth!
Leap to it.
I don't have sentry money. Oh wait, the sentry's still there. So maybe we can kill. Runes.
The prize is
Huh?
mine.
Sentries.
To the battle.
I'm coming. You got it on.
For victory. Leap forward.
Oh boy.
We ride.
Witch Doctor is still mid, I think.
Since you command it.
Orange wants help? Oh, I'm too far from you, dude. So, where's the other meepo? Oh, here it is.
Give them the satisfaction. As you will it.
Alright, I'm just gonna get experience mid. Ruin his bottom.
They're trying to knock down your middle tower. This is one of the things in the bad column.
He has wards there, clearly. Actually, you can't really conclude that, I suppose.
Yes.
Yo, so that axe is actually the Phoenix from last game, but he's not playing Phoenix. I tried to ban it, but like, it didn't work.
Forward, pet. Oh no.
How has Meepo died 3 times? Uh-oh, those kind of tilting questions. Wow, RNG.
Agreed.
So I should get Vlad's or some shit for this game for the Meepo. Empower the Meepo.
Witch Doctor's miss.
Good idea. On track. Finish turret. We ride. Start.
Got him. Good job, Crystal Maid.
You have learned nothing.
That was a really good play. Do you like how I canceled my my star spam? I was doing like this. You see that? The moment this fucking little bitch appears, we kill him. Okay, time to ward here. Where's Meepo? I want to kill this bitch warden.
Since you command.
Bitch warden.
We ride. On the prowl. As you will.
I'm just waiting, doing nothing. I hope there's no ward here. Oh shit, I got him. You did, bro.
Forward, pet.
Oh fuck. It's just a scene that they don't know.
To the battle. Of course.
That was almost 6.
Forward by
Not for the likes of you.
Amar, I remember that game. Don't ever talk about that game again, okay? Never talk about that game again. Nah, get back. Don't ever talk about that game again. Ever.
on track.
In front of me.
The prize is mine.
Regeneration!
We're gonna see him curious. Oh yeah, talk about that game more. No. There's no learning from a game that never happened, Amar.
I need help.
I'm not ready.
Nope.
Fine.
Whimper, dogs.
No detection, dude.
Since you command it. Perfect. Forward, pet. Good at an easy shot.
Well, this guy's up to something. He wants to do something. Dun. Oh. Bane's TP top shrine.
We ride.
Oh shit, dude.
Stop.
Yo, there's so many here, man.
Yes. Forward by balance.
That's the same Wraith King that raped me 2 games ago.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Oh shit.
Good idea. I'm under attack.
Debated. I have this.
Just gonna farm here.
Okay.
On the prowl.
Bot.
Should really use Moonlight at some point.
Of course.
Ooh.
Allies.
Coming top.
Leap forward.
They're all coming to.
Okay. Well, we're invisible, so.
Push mid.
Starfall.
I have that too.
Ah, damn it.
Your hope fades.
No items should I get this game? Sentries. Oh, this guy's about to have Blink Dagger. Okay. Ern and Vlad, you say? Ern, huh? Well, Ern would be good to stop Axe's Blink for sure. Yules is pretty good for his Blink call too. I think Yules is pretty good actually this game. I am 5.2k, Henry.
As you will it.
And yeah, maybe we'll go Yules. I'm feeling kind of good about Yules.
Good idea.
Holy moly.
Good idea.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
As you will it.
Okay.
Yes. Starfall. I'm under attack. To the battle.
I wish we would go for the same target.
On the prowl.
Killing spree!
Hi, I believe you're still playing support. Hi, yes. I mean, it's one of two options, right? I either play support
Forward by
or I play
balance.
carry. Medallion looks good. Now, why would I buy Medallion?
Leap forward.
Honest question.
Since you command it.
20s and 20.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know why you would buy Medallion in this game. Or is it one of those Medallion is always a good item things?
That
Runes! Runes! That's what I like about Mirana. Like, you can always Moonlight during rune time, and it's actually a pretty big advantage.
for the hunt. We ride.
Divine Rapier? Gotcha.
Forward. Pet.
Banks from above!
Stop. Of course. As you will. Spoil that shot.
I might die to Axe in a second. Oh no, Axe, stop. Good. I'm pressuring bottom.
It's Starfall. On the prowl.
Oh, there's Axe.
Leap forward. I'm under attack.
Okay. He's hit by arrow.
Stop.
Nice.
Nicely done.
Oh, I just got so much farm there.
Tower has fallen.
I didn't even need to panic buy my Staff of Wizardry. Thank you, Vinit.
Agreed.
Should I join my teammates top?
Stop. Of course.
Killing spree! Dominate!
No, I should not.
Got some dust.
Mega kill! Triple kill!
Yeah, sometimes you just feel bad for your teammates. You're like, I should go help them, but no.
Dominate!
Sometimes you do more not helping them. You know what I mean? Where's his Axe, anyways? Found him. Oh, this Mars wants some blood.
On track. Venice. Yes.
What are you buying?
Ah.
I need to stay close to this Mars. Does the tower see him? Nah, I didn't.
Axis miss.
Forward by bounds.
Dire structures are fortified.
I don't know, man. I don't know about this.
On track.
I'm out of here. Dude, this is the Wraith King from a few games ago, dude. He was fucking destroying us, like using his ultimate like clockwork, you know, just now, I don't know, he's on a feed fest. People have bad games. No. The Mars is the Wraith King from my first game today, who was just fucking destroying us. Relentless.
Your middle tower's under attack.
Leap forward. Stop.
The enemy's top tower exploded.
Good idea.
Your bottom tower's
Alright, Mars, you can have that farm, bud.
dig in and defend that sucker.
Forward by bounds. As you win. Light, dark. Good idea.
Ain't everything, huh?
Eh? So I think after this Yules, I'm going to get a Vlad's to empower the Meepo, unless Mars already has it. He does not.
I'm under attack. To the back.
I can play Meepo for donation. Would you like to make donation?
Your death has arrived.
Oh shit, those runes are up.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen. That'll show him.
Forward, pet.
Meepo's not getting Vlad's, right?
Do you
No.
hide
Anyone else getting Vlad's? I make sure sometimes.
on the prowl? Good idea.
Your bottom tower into your bottom tower.
Hey, I'm coming, Meepo. I have Yules and Sentry.
Your bottom tower's kind of bad.
Oh shit.
Of course.
Dude, what a fucking smart player.
Your bottom tower is
Wow.
under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Some people in trouble? Favorite role, Muhammad? I don't really have favorite role, to be honest with you.
Leap forward.
I'm here, Meepo.
Monster kill! Double kill!
Yes.
Monster kill!
I forced the buyback.
Right.
Smart Alec.
Agreed.
Oh shit! I'm almost dead! Ah! Holy shit. You question mark me, bitch?
Enemy's middle tower just turned into a pile of rocks. The enemy's middle barracks are just a silly
Got him.
memory.
Good Benny, girls and boys.
Forward by
He uses his fucking axe. Oh, his axe.
Fair warning, your death has arrived.
I see the axe. I see you, axe. I see you. I see you, axe. Goodbye, axe. Oh shit. Oh, that Yule's, baby. That Yule's so good. Told you guys this item would come in handy. Thank you. Easy MMR. Is the Meeple a Smurf? I have no idea. He was 0 and 3 in the beginning of that. Probably not a Smurf. Alright, that was the last game of today. Does anyone have any questions or comments? What MMR? Shit. Oh dude, that Mars commended me. Medallion would have done the same thing. Hey. We all played well. What are you talking about, Vinny? When did you play? Oh, I gotta commend these two guys back. It was him and it was him. The arc was good as fuck. Oh, okay, Vinny. Hi, Sahil. Oh, catching the end of the stream, huh? Alright, does anyone have any questions or comments? You should tell your Yule good if Axe jump with dagger and you Yule before he press skill 1. You should tell your Yule good. You should tell your Yule good if Axe jump with dagger and you Yules before he press 1. So are you saying my Yules is not good because he pressed skill 1 before I use Yules? Do you know what gatekeeping means? I think that's what you're doing. I heard he has a huge dong too. You call that huge? Come on, Sale. Title. Alright, so this Taufik Kasuma guy sounds like a little bit of an asshole. What do you guys think? He's like, that's not even good. Oh, you think that's good? Good Yules would be if you use Yules before extra skill. Press skill 1. Dude, you sound like a dick. Miracle would have done that. And if you're not Miracle, you're not good. Congrats for exceeding that donation goal by such a huge mark. Thank you, Amar. I hope you have a very bright future. I hope you have a bright future too, man. I was really happy about the number of dollars I got this month. No, it's one of my best months. One of them. Yules is supposed to be used mid-taunt, or he'll use it once he comes back down. That is also very true. You see how you can look at the positive side of things and not be an asshole about it? You drop from Immortal, I drop till Hero 2. Damn, Sahil. Sick metal, bro. Yules is perfect, to be honest. Actually, why would it be better if you... I mean, it's just different, right? You use Yules before skill 1 or after skill 1, right? I mean, he can't use it after he lands, right? But if he does use it before you use Yules, then some of your teammates are stuck. But I mean, it's just different. But we're not going to be an asshole about this, right? Alright, I'm going to read a few more comments and then I gotta go, guys. It's not about skill, it's just about doing it. Why not both? Both my accounts are banned till 2038, are you serious? Damn, you're one of those people, huh? Play Pudge now. The R4 Buther. What? Cancel Witch Doctor Alt, Axe Call, Fiend's Grip, Rookie Smoke. Yeah, that's it. No, that's why I bought Yules that game. It's quite a good item. 10 MMR swag. Damn, man. Can you teach me how to get your MMR? They think I'm a smurf. You should just tell them you're just that bad. You're 5.6k MMR core, so noob. Oh, sorry, man. You actually can't say the word noob. But is this guy trying to humble brag? Hey guys, I just got a new car. I'm not sure if it's a good car or not. Do you guys know this car? Oh, I think it's called a Lamborghini. I get the feeling that's what he's doing. Yeah, Wayne, we're gonna be streaming longer tomorrow. Just today's a little bit short. It's okay, JL. You didn't know. Where's that tall feet guy? He just shut up after I called him out. Hey, try not to be a dick, okay? Do we understand each other? Because next time you are, I'm gonna kick you out of here. Hi, Epic. I got an iPhone. I'm so poor. Hey, man. iPhone 5s are the shit. Stop doing what to my microphone? I don't know what you're talking about. See you later, Mel. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Thank you everyone for watching the stream. Hope you guys had fun today. We'll be back tomorrow around the same time. It should be around 8 AM Pacific time. So I'll see you guys in around 22 hours, okay? Have a great day, great night.